Hello and welcome to my ultimate endgame guide for Monoco. He is going to be probably the most unique character in the entire game in that he has no skill tree. Instead, the way you unlock his skills is going to be by defeating different types of enemies while you have him on your team. And when you do so, you're going to be able to temporarily, using those skills, turn into those enemies and do all kinds of different attacks that are going to give you a lot of different options in battle. For this reason, Monoco has multiple different ways you can build him. You can build him as a DPS or you can build him as the way that we have in this guide, which is going to be a support character. So without further ado, let's discuss how Monoco works and what he's going to be all about. He's going to have different types of skills, which like most characters are going to do a certain attack, and then there's going to be ways to improve those attacks. The way you're going to be able to improve the attacks to do more damage or get other bonuses, which you'll see in the skill description, is going to be by using that attack with the corresponding color from the beast wheel. Now the beast wheel is going to be visible on the right hand side of your screen, and it's basically periodically move every time you do certain attacks. The amount of spaces it will move will be determined by the skill. You'll see a little black diamond with a little yellow arrow, which will tell you how many spaces the beast wheel will move. Now this will allow you to predict where you will end up after the next attack, so you can try plan ahead. Obviously certain skills will get various bonuses when you do end up using them on the corresponding color, so it's important to make use of that when possible. So let's talk about now his weapon. The weapon we're going to be making use of is going to be the Joyaru, and the Joyaru is going to be obtained by defeating the Lampmaster in the Flying Manor. It's also going to be obtained by doing the Endless Night Sanctuary and defeating the Sucker Potato boss, and that is going to unlock this weapon as well. It is going to be a very unique weapon in the fact that it's going to start every battle in Almighty Mask, which is quite valuable because there are certain skills that he makes use of that will only get their bonus when you're in Almighty form, and that is going to be very easily obtained through this, which is otherwise a bit of a tricky one to obtain since there's only one spot in the bestial wheel that is going to be Almighty form. Then at level 10, the weapon is going to do 20% increased damage for each consecutive turn without taking damage, so you really got to want to make sure that you try dodge and parry effectively with Monoco because you're going to be able to do increased damage the longer the battles go on. And then level 20, break damage is doubled while in Almighty Mask, which is going to help stun enemies and prevent them from attacking you. Then moving on to the skills, we're going to be having the Lampmaster. Now the Lampmaster is going to be where you're going to do your damage. This is more of a support build for Monoco, but Lampmaster is going to give you a little bit of damage, especially when you get longer fights that are going to stretch over for multiple turns. What Lampmaster is going to do is it's going to deal highlight damage to all enemies, one single hit, and increase at each cast. So every time you use a skill, it's going to get more and more and more powerful. So obviously if you have long fights and you keep using this, it's going to do a lot of damage in the later stages of the battle. It's also going to get increased damage if you're on Almighty Mask, and this is why I like to start with this because it's difficult to get back into Almighty Mask since there's only one slot on the bestial wheel that's Almighty Mask. So for that reason, I like to start with Lampmaster on turn 1 because that's going to very much help get that full value when you can still obtain it. Moving on now, we're going to have Chapelier Slash. Now Chapelier Slash is going to be actually a very valuable attack in this build because what it's going to do is it's going to do not only 3 attacks of high damage, but it's also going to apply mark to all enemies, which is extremely valuable, especially when you combine with a higher DPS build such as CL or maybe even Lune, which has very high attack damage. This can be a lot more valuable with them, and this can also combo very nicely with Maelle for insane boss destroying capabilities. Now this ability is going to also have increased damage when you have the purple mask or agile mask, and that's going to increase damage, so if you want to get the most out of it, use it in that form. Then we're going to have Glaze Earthquakes. Now Glaze Earthquakes is going to deal medium earth damage to all enemies, 3 hits, and then it's going to also apply powerful to self. If you are in the heavy mask, you're going to get the benefit of applying powerful to all other allies, which means that your other allies are going to do more damage, which again is going to be very valuable because you can help set up them for more damage. And this is what this build is trying to go for here. It's trying to make support for your other characters so they can do more damage and that they can shine as much as they can. If you want to build this more as a DPS build, you're going to focus more on things like Lampmaster and Creation Void, which is going to be your biggest sources of damage. Speaking of damage, we're also going to have Duelista Storm. Now Duelista Storm is going to deal extreme single target damage with 4 hits, and it's also going to have Can Break, so you can also stun enemies with that as well. Like Lampmaster, it's only going to be able to increase its damage when you're in the Almighty Mask. This one can be a little bit of a tricky one to make full use of, but the fact that it has break ability can be a nice one to use even if you're not an Almighty Mask, just so you can end up stunning the enemy when possible. Then another support characteristic of Monoco is going to be the Pellerin Heal. Now the Pellerin Heal is going to be actually very nice support. It's going to not only be able to apply regen to all allies, meaning that every turn on turn start, allies are going to regenerate an amount of HP passively, but it's also going to give them, if you incast the mask, it's going to give them plus 40% health immediately as well, so that you can get not only passive healing value but also immediate big bursts of health as well. Then moving on to our last skill, this one's going to be Creation Void. This one's going to be able to deal extreme damage to a random target 3 times, and if it does strike the same target multiple times, it will do more damage each time. So this is going to be very valuable when there's a single boss or single enemy left on the battlefield and you can be able to target those 3 hits individually, which is going to increase the damage quite substantially. If you are in Caster Mask, will also do increased damage, so this is going to give you an option of either doing healing when you are on the Caster Mask mask, or damage if you want to go for the creation void. So it's up to you which one you prefer in the given situation. In terms of our Pictos, we are going to be making use of Pictos that are more focused on their stats rather than their abilities, as the abilities we're going to be making use of typically in the Luminas section. So looking at the stats we have here, we've got a very big increase in health. This is going to be quite necessary to have a high stat line in health, pretty much because we're going to have 0 stats in our attributes on vitality, so we're going to need a bit of extra health here. Now the perk itself, protecting death, it's not really crucial for this build at all. This is just there simply because it has very high stats on HP and defense to help survivability. Put whatever you want here as long as you have good stats on your health and defense. That's all that really matters. Then moving on, now we're going for critical rate because we do want to try and get as close to 100% as possible. So we're going to have stats here that are going to increase our critical rate. So we do have a 32% increase of critical rate here with rush on powerful. The ability itself not very important, but more so the stats of critical rate. You can put whatever you want here, just put whatever has the most critical rate and you should be good to go. Then we have charging cancel. Once again, this one's not going to be very crucial. It is a nice to have though. 20% of gradient charge on critical hit once per turn is nice, but this one is practically going to be there mostly for, again, the critical rate, which is going to be providing. So all in all, we got 5,000 health on our Monoco, even despite the fact that we have literally 0 stats put into vitality. All right, so now moving on to the Luminas, we're going to have very support-oriented Luminas here. Now, again, if you want to build Monoco more as a DPS build, you can change these around and you can put on things that are going to increase your damage. So feel free to mix and match. This is more of a support build, so we're going to be focusing more on support Luminas for this time. So speaking of which, starting things off, we're going to be having the Cheetah Picto, one of the strongest items in the entire game. This one you can obtain by defeating Sprong. On the world map, he's going to be a giant metallic rock-like monster in the middle of the ocean. He's going to have a lot of HPs. You're going to need to come prepared because in the earlier stages of the game, he can be a bit of a difficult one. But once you defeat him, you will get probably the best Picto in the entire game, which is Cheetah, and allowing you to play twice is obviously just going to open up a lot more possibilities for yourself. We're also making use of Dodger because we're going to gain 1 AP on a perfect dodge once per turn, and that's just pretty much free AP. It's very easy to meet this condition, so you're just going to get 1 extra AP pretty much every turn thanks to Dodger, and it only costs 1 Lumina point, so it's very cheap to put on. Then we're also going to have Energizing Heal. Now Energizing Heal is going to, on healing an ally, also going to give +2 AP. Now when you make use of our healing skills, it's obviously going to make sure that our allies are going to get fed extra AP, and this is going to help them as well do their biggest attack since they're going to have a lot more AP thanks to Energizing Heal. We're also making use of Energizing Start 1, 2, and also making use of Energizing Turn. This is going to allow us to generate extra energy, and especially considering we have Energy Master, this is going to mean that every AP gain is going to be increased by 1. That's going to allow us to generate a lot of AP every single turn and ensure that we always have full AP, especially at the start of the game. Now, Energy Master you can obtain by defeating Serpent Fair, and that is going to be a massive giant-like snake in the sky, which you're going to only be able to take on in the very later stage of the game. So if you don't have this, don't worry, you can take this off and just put on things like Energizing Start 3 or 4, and that'll help make sure that you have enough AP at the start of the game. So it's a very expensive Lumina, so if you don't have the Lumina points or you just don't have this Picto, feel free to just take this off and put on Energizing Start 3 and 4. Then we're making use of First Strike. Now this one is optional, it's definitely not needed. This one just makes sure that Monoco can start the battle, and this is going to allow him to immediately start quickly building up that Lamp Master attack for more damage in the later stage of the game. It's definitely not all needed. Another reason why we have First Strike is that you can use it to apply buffs such as Powerful onto your allies so that they can immediately start doing more damage when it's their turn. Allowing Monoco to start the game is going to allow him to potentially apply those buffs immediately so your allies can follow up with increased damage. We're also going to have a Healing Tint energy, which means that Healing Tints will also give 1 AP, and since we are going to do a bit of healing, that can be quite nice. We're also making use of Longer Powerful, and this is going to be because of the fact that we are going to be able to apply Powerful to our allies, and it's also going to end up basically making it more powerful since it's going to, on applying Powerful, the duration will be increased by 2. So this is going to allow your allies to make use of their Powerful status for a little while longer, which is going to obviously increase your damage overall as a group. Then we're also going to have Painted Power. Now Painted Power is going to be quite important for every single build in the game. It is obviously not going to be obtainable until a certain point in the game. That is going to be at the end of Act 2. You will get this, so just progress the story. If you don't have it, eventually unlock it. It's not crucial for this build, obviously, but it is going to, as it always does, help out a lot, so it's going to uncap your damage. But then we're going to have Powerful Shell, and that's going to be when applying Powerful, also apply Shell, and that's going to make sure that you're also able to keep your allies protected. Since you are going to give them Powerful, this will also give them Shell, and that is also going to make them much harder to take out. We're also going to have SOS Shell to help Monoco survive himself, since he's also going to take some damage and needs to help protect himself in times. And the SOS Shell is going to be when his health falls below 50%, he will be getting a shell to protect him. We're also making use of Shielding Death so that if Monoco does die, your allies are going to get 3 shield points each. and this is also going to help make them a lot more difficult to take out. Now, looking at Monoco's attribute points, as you mentioned earlier, Vitality has 0 points into it because we do have Pictos to help make him have more HP, so we don't really need HP here since we pretty much use our Pictos to do so. Might, we're going to be pumping a couple of points into because obviously more damage is always nice. Agility and defense are going to be the highest since it does scale with our weapon, so we have the max out of 99 as our weapon does scale with both agility and defense. And then we also have a little bit of luck in order to increase our crit rate. As you can see, I'm a little bit over 100%, so you could, if you build it exactly like this, you could maybe take off a few luck points here, maybe put a bit onto maybe might or even vitality because you don't actually need this much crit points, but that is just the way I have it set up currently. Overall, this build is going to be probably the best support class in the game. It's not going to be huge in terms of damage. Monoco, I've tried many times to get him to do a lot of damage, but he's not really built for damage. He does do some decent damage in some ways. He can do like maybe 1 million, 2, even 3. And if you do use something like Lampmaster in the long game, you can actually do quite a lot of damage, maybe even more than 3 or 4 million, but it's going to take a while to build up there. Overall, I think Monoco is best suited as a support player because when he does do things like powerful, it means that your allies are going to do double damage. And when you combine that with an ally that can maybe do 10 million, 20 million damage, being able to double that means that they're now able to do maybe 40 million damage or 30 million damage or whatever the number might be. And that is pretty much largely due to Monoco, because if he puts powerful on allies or marked on enemies, that is going to allow you to obviously double dip on your other characters that are probably going to do more damage overall. So making Monoco fit quite nicely as a support character to help keep them alive, keep them buffed up, and make them a whole lot harder to kill. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the guide. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments section below what are your favorite characters in Expedition 33 and what are your current setups for your characters. I would love to find out. And otherwise, I'll be seeing you guys again next time. Take care and bye bye.